Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. It is Love is the Wisdom Behind Awakening, discussion and channeling. And Chrys, hello and welcome.
Hi, it's number 43. Yes.
She knew what I was going to ask her. See, that's how in sync we are.
Yeah, that look on her face, like, I don't know what it is.
What number are we at? Yeah, so number 43. And we're keeping this discussion going because there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of but today, in particular, we're gonna, before we got on, I was talking to Chrys about in a story of something I experienced over the weekend here, and so we thought, oh, let's talk about it. Let's dive in. So here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, all right, everyone, come on in here, get in here closer. So I had a friend contact me wanting to meet for lunch. And so this friend of mine, um, this friend of mine we were BFFs in the 80s and early 90s. Okay. And we had our babies together and like that. And we were very involved at the time in our church and like that together. So fast forward, uh, in the mid mid later 90s, her family moved, and so we kept in semi contact over the years. Of course, all the Christmas and like that. And anyway, it's been years and years, as 90s until now. And she was coming to town. She's like, "Oh, let's meet up. Let's go to there's a my she was visiting a friend. They're like, and they attend this mega church here in Colorado Springs, and why don't we meet? They have a cafe there and eat lunch and so forth." So um I'm like, well, I work on Sundays. Sundays is one of my work days, so I'm not done until this time, blah blah. So Sundays wouldn't work for me. She's like, okay, well, how about Saturday? They have a Saturday night service. We can go to the cafe there that they have on campus there, and then go to the Saturday night service. So I thought, okay. Well, so then I thought, okay, well, let me, so I, unbeknownst to her, I went on the website of the church into kind of what we believe section. And so they literally number out kind of their belief system. And they have in their belief system, they have, and I'm going to read, I think I'm going to read it, Chrys. What do you
Yeah.
think? Yeah.
Yeah. I think you
Let me
should read.
read you. Uh, this is literally in their belief section, like what we believe. Um, okay. We believe that legitimate sexual relations are exercised solely within biblical marriage. Hence, sexual activities such as, but not limited to, adultery. And let me pause here. They crunch this all together. This is okay. Um, such as um, adultery, fornication, incest, polygamy, homosexuality, transgender, bisexuality, cross-dressing, pedof- pedophilia, and bestiality are inconsistent with the teachings of the Bible and the church. Further, lascivious behavior, the creation, viewing, and or distribution of pornography, and efforts to alter one's gender are incompatible with biblical witness. So I then so I wrote to her, and I said, I really appreciate the invitation to meet at the church. However, I wanted to share with you that the church's stance on homosexuality makes me feel uncomfortable. I mean, it was more than that, but anyways, homosexuality makes me feel uncomfortable. I hope you understand this is important to me. Is there another place we could meet instead? I would love to spend time together in a space where we both feel accepted. Thanks for understanding. So, and she graciously wrote back and said, thank you for being honest. And we met for lunch at a different place, different time, and all that. However, and for inquiring minds, I know you want to know, our lunch went fabulous and it was wonderful to meet up with her and catch up with the kids, where the kids are at now. Of course, they're all in their 30s and families of their own. And so it was just nice to kind of catch up with that and meet on that level. Okay. But what struck me that we were talking with Chrys was on that here it is just right there in black and white writing or whatever, in just black and white, just the hate, I don't know what else to say there, Chrys. I mean, it was just like
Intolerance. Yeah.
the intolerance, this intolerance, this
This judgment.
judgment, intolerance, just right, like right in your face. But and they crunched it together. And I remember, people when I was, coming out or whatever, and the church people would often put you're just as bad as someone who's a pedophile. I'm like, or what? Like, you know what I mean? That this is their perception. This is literally their perception. And you made a really good correlation there with this whole patriarchal oppression that is fed kind of behind this and keeping oppression and control.
Yeah. I think it's first of all, I think we weren't raised alike. You were in a family that was very fundamentalist.
No, I wasn't.
No.
No.
Oh, okay. But they belong to a fundamentalist church, yes?
No.
So I get it all wrong. Okay.
Got it all wrong.
Edited it right out. My mother
Mhm.
was the youngest of 8 kids of a fundamentalist Christian minister. And her story, which is kind of funny, really, was of a rebel, right? She would climb out when she was a teenager. Her mother had died. She would climb out the window and go to a movie. She would wear makeup when no one was looking. And when my grandfather and my grandmother would come to visit, he was exactly 6 feet tall. He wore a fedora, a collar. You could see your shadow in his shoes, and he carried a cane. And for a kid, and he was totally deaf. And in those days, they wore a thing on their chest for being deaf. He was as scary as he could be for a kid.
Yeah.
Just like, and my mother would rush and she'd put away all the alcohol, she'd put away all the cigarettes, and she would dress my sister and I in dresses. So we would be, the right kind of women. I think that was my first exposure to that. And I was like, what is this all about? But then on
He
holiday,
also made a statement that she needed to beat it out of you, whatever you're.
well, he told her that I was too spirited and I needed to have it beaten out of me. But I didn't know until recently that he had said the same thing to her about herself,
Mhm.
that she was two-spirited. So I didn't know that growing up. But so and relatives would come in from Canada, and they'd have Bible readings and debates and so on. And not one of them would say anything about the history of the Bible. Not one. And so they just took it for granted that it was accurate, and that you should follow it and all of that. There are 1,000 different versions all over the planet, and each denomination chooses what rules it's going to follow and what rules it's going to impose. They all, and especially the Catholic Church, which was one of the forerunners of all this, put men in charge of everything and took from women the natural uh, place of women in social worlds, of healing and nurturing and feeding and so on. So the medical profession followed from the Bible, from that particular thing. But I would encourage all of the listeners, whether they've done it before or not, to read about this and to read some of the historical documents about the creation of this document. First of all, it happened years and years and years later after his death. And it was based on the Essenes documents initially. And so it was the Essenes that the Romans were always fighting with, because the Romans, and you remember that was the Roman Catholic Church, wanted control over the people. So what they were trying to put in place was a patriarchal social order. The original understanding of adultery was not how we understand it today. It was all right to have a relationship with another human outside of your primary relationship, if, and adultery was defined differently, if the people were open about the whole thing. Adultery was doing it on a sly.
Okay.
Okay, so it was acknowledging that love is everywhere, that love happens, and it's not a sin. God, and what I said to my mother, I think I said in another episode, was I had a dream because she was very bothered by my choices in life, or what she saw as choices. I saw as I was just born this way, and um, and I came downstairs and looked at her and said, God doesn't make mistakes, and she didn't have anything to say to that, and but I think we have to really shift how we think about people generally, that we are part of nature. We're all one. We're all one. So um every speaking of one, BB just came in the room. So she might bark or scratch or something if she's barking. Yes. No. Come here. Come here.
BB, please.
Yes, I know. Take her. Take her out. Anyway, she the original version is so far and away from what we are as beings, so far away from our connection to the universe, for that matter, and from the other side. And I would love to hear from the other side about um what they what they want to say about all of that. But we're, as nature, we're highly variable, highly variable. And so love manifests in all different ways. I think the rules about consenting adults are the rules of a social order. Some social orders indoctrinate their own children, teach them what sexuality is, And I think there isn't any such thing as sexuality. I think there is such a thing as love, and it manifests and it doesn't have boundaries to it. So you find out an animal can't make that decision. A child can't make that decision. Those are the social boundaries versus putting them in a text and saying the text is the only way there is. And so what's been happening recently, and it was in the newspaper today, I was telling you about, I think it's Kentucky, they've decided to sell off all this land to Christian nationalists. And these are they're trying to make us be a Christian nation by their terms.
Yeah.
And there'll be very few people standing.
Yeah.
There'll be very few people standing because the transgendered, the gay people, what they think of as abhorrent to them, it's going to be we're all going to be in prison or something. So, and in one of the countries in Africa, they just made I think it was Burundi, just made a rule that homosexuals should be killed. You know, you can kill us all. It's still going to be here. You know, that's the truth. But the original version of the Bible was in Aramaic, and then it was very close to the Sumerians, and then the next version was in ancient Greek, and it was not the same terms as what was in the King James version, which a lot of people use, and the information about the social world wasn't even put in until in the 19th century. So, it's really, what's the word? Institution. Those S's have become very difficult for me, but
That's
that.
It was very clear. You got it. You got this.
Okay.
Yeah. So, they believe that the word is infallible. And the word of God is infallible. You can't. Yet, even within their own groups of different entities of different denominations and different whatever, they interpret things differently, even within the institution. And also, when you're looking at the if you look at the scripture or whatever that has been brought in by pieces, because you have men who sat down and interpreted or put in what they felt and kept out what they didn't want in there. That's not infallible. That's not full. That's in part. And that's impartial, right? And in perspective of the time and their whole idea of controlling the society. So I understand the need for humans to have this source of unity and love and connection to God, so to speak. I understand that fully. It's a beautiful connection. However, the rest of all of it that is very exclusive or inclusive, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, not everybody's included.
Yeah.
There's a problem there.
Exclusionary, I think is.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, so I'm not. I don't know, Chrys. It's just it's frustrating. It's sad, and to see a perception that is being held over people and keeping them imprisoned is very disheartening to me. But the belief within the system is so embedded and so strong.
Yeah.
It creates this separation and then the hate, and then it ends up where you have things like, Lord, they're, they put you to death if you think differently.
Yeah.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
not even part of their part of
the vast majority of people who have committed pedophilia are straight men against little girls. So we know that from the movie Naiad. We know that from what happened within the Catholic Church. 1,900 priests within one area of the United States were found guilty of pedophilia. I mean, against little girls, mostly. So to call that something it's not is it's just not fair. It's very judgmental. It's very judgmental. I'm the only one. I follow this doctrine, therefore I'm the only good one.
right.
And
That's
and
what it's somehow a need for them to say that so one of the main things here, and what I'm kind of getting from my team here, my guides, is that so if you dig down to the under piece here, it's judgmental, that judgment piece, and
Yeah.
being in judgment constantly. And this happens to be a theme this last week, but this judgment piece is strong here. And so if you are in judgment of someone else, it's serving you in a way. It's serving you to show you, well, I'm better. I have to be better. And that's set up by the world too. You have to, you know what I mean? It's this hierarchy of I gotta be better. And so so this cycle is here. So we're breaking the cycle. We're trying to break the cycle. And it starts with ourselves. So we have to be aware of when we judge ourselves. Which we do constant. It's a constant self-judgment of things. So start there first, but then notice how you're judging others. And it could be the smallest little thing. It could be whatever, they use their spoon wrong. I mean, that's a judgment. That's a judgment. And those are things we have to break that cycle. But going back to the topic we've been talking about within the church and this Project 2025 and the Christian nationalists and the fundamentalists and this church that, right here in Colorado Springs, this mega church that has this, where they're fostering a huge judgment piece, which then fosters hate, which then can turn into violence. I mean, we saw it play out here in Colorado Springs at Club Q when that person went in and shot everybody in there. So, and that's a gay club here, for those who don't know. Okay, so yeah, going back to the judgment and where we can start is within ourselves, judging ourselves. What are you judging yourself for? And it's gonna take some exercise and intention, because we do it constantly, because that's how our system has been set up. The core system has been set up on a judgmental basis. And I'm sure the whole family here can really list off of what they see in the world that is, I judge you because I'm better, or what I believe is more right than what you believe. Even that, I mean, even being, you know, I'm my beliefs, my own personal belief system. Does I believe this way? Do I judge others at any level because they don't?
No.
Right. And so do I judge my friend because uh, you know, she's in in this practice, in the Christian practice or whatever? No. Um, but I need to check myself to make sure that I'm not putting myself in the space of, oh, well, I'm better because I don't believe in that. I'm not under that.
But I think you really honed in on the judgment piece, that you might not agree, right? You
Right.
might not agree. There's two things. One is fostering hate with a doctrine that gets acknowledged as a really defining doctrine. So there's the fostering hate piece, but there's the piece about, you can sit across from lunch with someone who has a different belief system, as long as they are not imposing their belief system on you, it's not a big deal. They can believe whatever they want to believe. But if they're pushing their beliefs on you
Right.
and making you feel bad about who you are, the other part of this picture,
Wait.
what?
Before I forget this, when you walk into one of these a church, and
Right.
they preach this belief system and hate, they're creating this space of, I'm better than you because
Right.
I believe this.
Right. So what they're doing is attracting people who already have been victimized, who have already been treated badly by somebody. We're going to a place that's saying that the perpetrator against me is bad and I'm good now because I'm part of that now. So they're really depending on you already having had that experience. And the vast majority of people having had that experience are going to be mostly little girls, some little boys, affected by adult men. Very few adult women commit any of these crimes. But yeah, I think they really get a lot of their energy in these places from people who need to be validated that they're okay after all, and that the perpetrator is not okay. But imposing it on a whole variety of people is a mistake.
Yeah.
It's a social mistake. Yeah. So,
Because then you're just creating more judgment going out there. You're
right.
creating what you are preaching against.
And more violence and more hate.
Yeah. More hate, yeah.
Yeah. So it's got a lot of pieces to it. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody here besides the usual?
Well, I mean, we can tap in, ask specific questions if we want.
I would be curious to hear from either Mary Magdalene or Mada about um what they believe is happening here or how we should deal with it.
Okay. I feel like I have Mada here. And so let's talk to her for a minute. So give me a second to. Okay. There's a shaking up happening, and we're going to experience a little bit more shaking up,
Mm-hmm.
a little more extremes coming to the surface. It's going to feel like you're going backwards, but you're not. It's just a pressurized energy here that's pushing things to the surface. And with that, the healing and perspective, stepping into a more united perspective will take place. But you will be experiencing a more chaos in this, more shaking up of this energy. I'm encouraging you not to be discouraged with this, but be in she's showing me this side, or be on this side of the line with that. So what we put out there, it will be helpful. So if we are in the perspective of love and inclusive love and light, and truth, that alone helps with will help with this whole shakeup. She's saying there's more of you than there are of them. So and I feel like I'm hesitant to say you and them, because it's you and them thing, and it's really an us thing. But in this, there's still a line, she's saying. So there's still a line here, but no, it's important for you to know that there's more of you. There's more of this inclusive love and light. There's more of you than there are that are in this perspective of, even within the church, so to speak. You will find that there are people who are still there that are inclusive and love and light, and their perspective is not of that, but they still put themselves within that energy.
Hmm.
I'm being shown that this is going to be crashing down.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, it's crashing down. And that whole system is crashing down eventually. But before that time, we will see a little bit more of a chaos within it. Like you said, Chrys, about the one country that is embracing the death penalty.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see more of that.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar to like a drowning victim. If you go out to try to save the drowning victim, they take you down with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's that act of trying to save themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so this whole system is trying to save itself. So it's taking it's in that action of taking everything down. Any other questions we have? Specific questions?
Made me think about how Putin said that that the women in Russia should have at least 8 children, and that there are states within the United States where abortion after 6 weeks is illegal, even if it's life threatening, and the next front is birth control, and it'll put women back in the house.
Mhm.
This is patriarchy's last stand. I think that's what
Yes.
she's talking about.
Yes.
And in Burundi, they were talking about anybody who's gay should be stoned. Um, they're desperately trying to hold on to male power. They're seeing that women are totally capable of running everything. And we don't have to have, just because you have a penis doesn't mean you, and testosterone doesn't mean that you're the only one who's capable of doing any of the jobs that they do. So it is patriarchy's last stand. And you said something the other day about chaos is necessary. I wonder if that's what you meant.
Hmm. Um, so what I'm being shown here when you said that was Trump.
Mm-hmm.
His energy was necessary to bring this all to the surface, to expel it
Mm-hmm.
completely. So his chaos, which is mind-boggling, but necessary to bring things to the surface to be completely expelled. It's no longer, we were living in a realm of fog, so to speak, blinders, so to speak, but it was all in the cracks, and it all needed to come up and be expelled. And he was a necessary chaos to
Mm-hmm.
make that happen. So taking it back to on a personal level, she's taking me back to self and how we look at ourselves and judge ourselves daily, and how that needs to heal. That's a piece that needs to heal to really be able to be unified and in the collective. That piece needs to be healed. It makes you a stronger uh, soldier, a stronger entity, more solid in the energy that you put out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, yes, she's saying yes. Sometimes there's a necessary chaos, similar to the tarot cards. So you have the tower card. No one wants to get the tower card, but it's also it creates a necessary chaos that brings you into a more solid, uh, higher consciousness awakening place. But as humans, we really work hard to not experience anguish, hurt, discomfort. Humans do not want to be in discomfort at all. So
Mm-hmm.
we work really hard not to feel that discomfort. So we create we create specific programs and narratives and all these things to where we think we're creating this safety net, and you're actually creating the opposite effect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we come here for this experience here. It's almost like we have PTSD every time we come.
Mhm.
But we do not want to be we don't want to be uncomfortable. We don't want to have discomfort. We don't want to feel grief. We don't want to feel pain. We don't want to feel these things that we kind of maybe in a sense remember. So we work really hard to make that not be a part of our experience.
Mhm.
However, in doing that, it's created these institutions,
Mhm.
judgment,
Mhm.
and and so forth. So um, we
Rules,
rule,
rules, rules. We need to have order. We need to know that they are going to be managed.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're going to be managed. I'm safe because I'm in this institution,
Mhm.
um, that kind of thing.
I know my oldest, her daughter, when we first moved to Albany, wanted to become a Catholic. So she went down to the Catholic church on the corner and she knocked on the door and a priest answered and she said, I want to become a Catholic. Her grandmother thought that was a miracle. So nobody in her household was practicing Catholic. And so she went through communion. She had communion the day after I defended my dissertation. So all the party planning went toward her communion. But when she was here a few weeks ago, she was talking about her grandmother and her need to hold on to the Catholic markers. And what I said to her and was, I said, you know, you're not really a Catholic. And she looked at me and I said, no, you're really spiritual. Catholicism is an institution run by people who've never had the experiences you've had and making judgments based on what? Whatever the Catholic Church has believed in for so long. You're a spiritual being who cares about spiritual things. And you're not here to judge people, and you're here to tell stories about how other people are judging. And your stories are good, but she's a journalist, by the way. Yeah, so she didn't have anything to say back to me, which is unusual. But it was a moment when I sort
Yeah,
of went, institution
yeah,
is not spirituality.
yeah.
It,
But you create in your mind that this is a safety net for you somehow.
right.
And just be careful with those safety nets.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't have those in your experience, but be careful that they aren't putting you in a box.
Mm.
Taking us back to
Yeah.
episode 1.
Yeah. What does Mada think we should do about all this?
Love, love yourself, be aware of the narratives that you live by and the programming that you live by. Be aware, release what does not serve you in the higher perspective here. But most of all, be aware of that self-judgment. Where do you judge yourself? Be aware of that. Release that. That first initial action will take a layer off of your vision where you will be able to see beyond what you've ever seen before and have a deeper understanding and love for mankind. Because until you can stop judging yourself, you will continue to judge others
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So start there. You're loved. You're whole. You're complete. You're perfect.
Thank you, Mada.
Amen.
Yeah, that's a great way to start your day. We're
Yeah.
perfect. We're perfect just the way we are. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm.
You have any questions for Mada?
Mhm.
Do you want to say who she
Oh, I'm
is?
just saying thank you. Um, she, so for those of you who don't know, Mada is an energy that came in, I don't remember when, but a while ago in one of our discussions and has
Mm.
come in throughout. But she is not just a single energy, but uh, um, a frequency, more of a frequency, and and when we asked her about it, she said to break it down into your language, it would be like a mother frequency.
Mhm.
And when I looked up the name Mada, which she gave us, it was mother in another language. And I'm like, there you go. And so that's who she is. It's a frequency energy. And I go like this because universe, part of the universal frequency that we all can tap into. That frequency is there for you as well. Anyone, that mother frequency, love it.
Mhm.
Anyways, I do hope everyone, we look forward to hearing from you. Great comments after the last discussion, and we always look forward to reading through the comments and learning more. And this is a shared experience, so thank you for sharing this discussion with us. Blessings to you all, and I'm looking forward to hear where you want to stop judging yourself, because maybe it'll help us as well.
It'll help the children. I keep
And
hearing the children.
yes,
The
yeah,
children need to know that they're safe. They need to know they're accepted, that they're loved, and that they're beautiful by themselves.
yeah, they're not lacking.
No, no.
Uh,
My kids used to babysit for a little boy who loved to wear ballerina outfits. And the classic response is that people say, "Oh, he was just a gay kid." He wasn't, but it didn't matter. He just thought it was fun to wear, tutus. So be careful not to judge. Give them the room
Even
to.
when-
I had a student at school who said to me, "Can I talk to you?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "I think I'm lesbian." I said, "Why do you need to name it?" She said, "Well, I thought I had to." I said, "No. Is it about love? Do you love somebody?" She said, "Yes, I do." She said, "But it's not a boy." I said, "That's okay. Call it love. Don't call it by the name that's in the dictionary. This is what it's about. Just love the person, and you're going to change a million times in your lifetime."
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
We are moving that direction.
Yeah.
All right, beautiful. Thank you, Chris, again.
Thank you, Debbie.
Blessings, everyone. We'll see you next time.
All right. Lots of hugs, everybody.